Hi again. A few days ago we left our project for the build along marking gauge with everybody building the head, and I said today that we would for the next video show the actual cutter itself. The original had just a simple wood screw in it, and that's what I said we would do first. I think that's important, I think, for quite a few reasons. The principal one is it's brilliant. It really does work well. I have used this old gauge throughout the whole of this build process in marking the various parts that I needed to make the new one, or new two actually, by the looks of it at the moment. The reason I'm making two is because I wanted to show the various cutters. Now I know Jim's kindly stepped in. I had to pop into hospital yesterday for a few things. Thankfully nothing needs to be done today, but anyway, the plan was to do a simple one, and then I've got another one here which is the more complex one, a box one, and this one I will use to show inlaid wear strips. Also on the stem I will show the use of cutters rather than just a pin. The type of cutters that I'm going to do will be using a piece of bandsaw. That's just a bandsaw blade, rather. That is just a piece of steel that is able to be sharpened and will stay sharp fairly well. Also a piece of 01 tool steel, which we can use to show hardening. The type of cutters that would go into a square hole. Now I particularly like a square hole with a wedge. That's this type of wedge, which fits down next to the cutter. Other people have suggested screws in the end. You can go on forever, to be honest with you. If you wanted to do that, maybe we can get someone else to show how their one is actually screwed in and the cutter is held in from the very end of the stem. There are, as I say, as many ways to skin a cat as there are cats. But we will show the wedge design, which is one step behind extending that to a cutter. Now the end of this particular one, as you can see, is reinforced, and I think with the wedge design and the large hole, that can be quite important, particularly if you're not using the hardest of woods, because otherwise you'll get split out in the end. I was particularly careful in making sure on the copy of this one that that I didn't have a split. This has actually, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but it's got a very, very, very tiny edge split of rosewood. In the rosewood, it isn't affecting it at all. It's well and truly stuck in there, and it's part of the aging of it. But I think when you start out with a new one, it's best to try and start out with good principles. So the key to the you'll see in the photographs, the key is to make sure that you get the correct size of pre-hole boring, so that you can put the screw in tightly enough and create a screw thread, but not split out the wood. So there is a finite point at which you get to the point where it will split the wood. If you get towards that, then stop, just drill out a little bit more. I used a 2.5mm drill for this type of wood screw. Obviously whatever size you choose will be pertinent to your screw, but this has come out absolutely superbly. It's got a bit of I've finished it now. It's got some just one coat of button polish on it, just to show you. It's very loose all the way up, as was the prototype, and it locks in place. I have taken bits of wood and let's put this at a shorter distance. Taken some pieces of wood and run some tests on the end grain, which is an all-encompassing test down the long grain, which will test for any deviation that the grain causes for the cut to deviate and follow the grain rather than cut through it, and that is important. And across the grain this way to cut the fibers. And as you can probably hear, each test has resulted in quite a good cut, and that's just with a screw. Now what I did with the screw was I put it in a metal vise, and I filed down the end in the metal vise so that it creates a point. There are photographs accompanying this video that will show you that. I can't show everything in a video for obvious reasons, but at the end of the day, it's square, it locks solid, absolutely solid, and it cuts beautifully. So, and it's quick. You can really quickly change it to whatever size you want. Now these are so cheap. Once you get to do one, the second one, trust me, is easy. Because once you've worked out how to do the first one, the second one just follows along, and it's a walk in the park. But once you've done a couple, then you can keep them for if you're doing furniture and joinery, then you can keep them set to specific sizes. So one might do a particular job, another one might be another measurement, and each time you want to repeat a task, you simply pick up the one and put numbers on it. Pick up the one that is for that task, and you don't have to reset each gauge, which with the gauges. So therefore, the repetition is accurate, and that's quite important. So cheap, bit of stock, that's scrap really. It's not a vast amount of wood, and even so, I suppose it would probably cost you like pennies to make one. Screw 2 pieces of wood, and you've got yourself a very good gauge. And as you can see, that design certainly came out very well, very relatively easy now that we know how to do it. And the first one and the second one both work exactly the same. In fact, I had a bit of a laugh. I took all of the heads and put them in a row on the same original shaft, and that's probably proof if it was needed, that they all bit of a kebab. They're all square and they all work beautifully. In fact, can't move them, any of them. So getting them off is not quite as easy. So that just proves that you can repeat, and this is all just by hand. There's no machines involved here, so there's no guaranteed accuracy with regards. It's only me. So each one was easily lockable on the shaft that was on the original. So all in all, just to finish off, the next video will be, that's the next door neighbour's dog, huge Rhodesian Ridgeback, so we should get a lot of barking between the two of them. Studio work, you can't odds it. Alfie, come here now. Come here now. Good boy. That's a good boy. Yes, you are. You're a good boy. You leave us in be alone. Say hello to everybody. So what we're going to do on the next video, Alf? Up you get. Up you get. Come see. What we're going to do on the next video, eh? We are going to, when we come along next time, we're going to cut the stem of the other gauge with the square hole. We're going to show you some hardening of steel, and come here. We're going to show you some hardening of steel in using just an ordinary standard blowtorch, a gas blowtorch, or even the kitchen hob, we're also going to make a couple of wedges. The designs that I've got are pieces of little offcuts of quite relatively thin brass. You can get brass everywhere. And I was also going to make a wedge out of lignum vitae, That's available both in the States and in the UK. I keep all the offcuts of this because it's just so valuable wood, but it just proves that you can use wood as a wedge as well. So that will be on the next video. Hopefully we'll have that out to you either tomorrow or next week. But watch out for the article accompanying the video, and good luck with your gauges, and post them. Show us what you've done yourself and how you've achieved what you've achieved with the various woods that you've got as scrap. Okay then, take care, bye bye. Get down, you, get down. Monster.